All right, real quick. I'm gonna go through machine learning and AI and like what all this buzz is about in terms of the technology and how it actually works, being that I'm deep into it learning right now. And I'm gonna provide it in a way where you guys can understand in layman's terms what this technology is actually doing. First thing, machine learning and AI are two totally different things. They coincide. AI assists with machine learning, deep learning, reinforced learning, and all that a lot, but they're two totally different things. We're focusing on generative adversarial networks. I'm going to break this all down so that way by the end of this, all this stupid shit I'm talking about is going to make sense. Trying to break this up in segments. So we're going to focus on supervised learning versus unsupervised learning. Supervised learning, I want you to picture a cookbook, right? In that cookbook, you've got every single ingredient you need in terms of an input to get an output being the dish, right? Then you have unsupervised learning. Now, hear me out. I want you to picture a food critic, okay? And in the kitchen is a chef who has no recipes and no cookbook, but he's very good at cooking dishes. The critic comes and sits with him and continues to critique his dishes as he brings them out. And it becomes a cat and mouse game, right? The more the critic critiques our chef's dishes, the more the chef goes back to the kitchen and refines his dishes, brings it back to the critic, and says, "What do you think of this now?" And the critic will then refine it, critique it, discriminate, because that's the word, it's a discriminator, I'll get there, and then send it back to the kitchen. Again, I'm learning, high overview, I'm just giving you what I got so that way it sticks. So, let's talk about unsupervised learning, because that's what we're focusing on. Here at Cash Monkey, we're going to be using what they call 3D GAN architecture in terms of our machine learning model, and I'll get into that. I want you to picture an art forger, right? This guy forges art for a living. Now, when he starts, he's terrible at it, right? Obviously, he didn't have any experience. We're going to call him Joe. And then Larry, on the other side, is an art expert. He specializes in authenticating and determining real art pieces from fake art pieces, right? Now, again, this is real vague, and there's some blank spots, but I want you to picture unsupervised learning in the context of us creating 3D models to 3D print, like Joe keeps going to Larry with his fake art, and Larry keeps calling him out on it. And Joe, instead of quitting, continues to go back home, work on it, make a better piece of art until he gets to a point where he can show up to Larry with two separate pieces of art, one being the original and one being the fake. And Larry's not able to necessarily determine the difference between the two because they are so close to being the same thing. So let's circle back quick. Supervised learning versus unsupervised learning. Whereas supervised learning, Joe's the artist. Joe has paint as his input, and he uses the input being paint to create an art piece, which is his output, and Joe provides the output. With unsupervised learning, Joe continuously comes back to Larry, the art expert, who is our discriminator in our GAN network, and until Joe, being the generator, brings Larry something that to Larry is authentic, Larry then is the one that provides the output saying this is the real piece. And that's the cat and mouse game between Joe and Larry, aka the GAN network, versus the supervised learning, which is just ingredients. You make the ingredients, you get the outcome. I know I've said a lot already, but you can also take that final product that Joe brought to Larry, that Larry said, this is the real product, and then use that product as the ingredients for your quote unquote cookbook, being your supervised learning, to then reinforce that learning from your GAN network into your supervised learning process and architecture. Now, supervised and unsupervised all have their own processes. Supervised really good for analytics and predictive analysis and all that good stuff. But in general, the whole aspect of me breaking this all down is that now when you incorporate AI into the picture, you now have AI as its own program and its own thing, giving you capabilities that provide, I guess, sentiment analysis, being able to determine more natural language in the data, which therefore provides us as the user more capability to generate the output that we're looking to put out. So, that was a bunch, but it's helped me stick in my mind and maybe pop some of your curiosities. So.